process, there may be only minor areas you identify where you think that perhaps mixed use or additional housing is necessary or feasible. Perhaps there's none, and that's certainly okay. So that's part of the process that we're going through. And as I said before, there is no predefined, it has to be this way. It has to result in a large amount of units or a large amount of density. It's what does the community think is reasonable, what is sustainable, what makes sense. So that's the approach we're taking. And as I said, there's no preconceived notion as to what the outcome should be.
I respect everything you just said. I didn't hear the answer to my question in it. What I asked was, how does state law not trump and force something different upon a municipality's growth plan? Because SB 375, I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize, but I believe it says within a half-mile radius, 60 feet. We're talking about 30.
SB 75 just says you have to have available housing within the region. It does not, the state of California is not going to come down and mandate that you make changes to your land use plan. It is not. It is not.
No, but Sandag is.
Sandag has no land use control. It's a city council. It's the people you vote on the city council, those 9 members that control that, and then also the mayor with this policy direction. It is not the state of California that makes land use decisions within the city of San Diego or any other municipality. There are regulations and laws that are passed that we have to look at in terms of our planning principles and guidance, but it does not mandate that we make changes. Now, what it does say, certainly in terms of our housing element, is that we have available housing supply. So if we had no housing available anywhere within the city of San Diego for housing, that would be something we need to look at. And if we didn't, we certainly could get challenged by housing advocates who would say there needs to be housing, areas for housing need to be made available. But again, the state of California does not mandate that we provide density. What it certainly does provide is that within, if cities want to identify transit priority areas within, such as trolley stops or train stations, they can go through a process that has a streamlined environmental process to support mixed-use transit-oriented development. And the specific plan does provide that ability. But what it doesn't do is circumvent the environmental process to prepare the specific plan. So it does provide that with a specific plan. It doesn't say that buildings have to be 60 feet. It doesn't say density has to be 75 units per acre. It does not. So does that answer your question? The city of San Diego determines the amount of housing that's available, and that's working with the residents, the community members, property owners to determine what the appropriate density is. The state of California does not determine our land use plan. Sandag does not determine our land use plan. It's a city council that does. If you have any questions, you can stand in line. Did I answer your question? I want to make sure.
Maybe. So it does say 60 foot in SB 375. You're saying the state does not have the power once the rail line is there to come in and say, no, that must be 60 after we've all agreed to what we're trying to do.
The state of California does not have the ability to change our land use laws, our zoning, our regulations. What the state can do is provide incentives for jurisdictions if they want to reduce or look at incentives such as reduce environmental analysis near transit stations. But that's through a specific plan, but the plan determines what the appropriate density and height limit is.
I'm done. He was ready with the head.
I'm going to yield my 2 minutes to the Honorable Harry to let him explain why the 60-foot limit is still in play in the eyes of the developers.
Okay, the gentleman's right. It doesn't say 70, it says minimum 30. Read the law, it says minimum 30 feet. And if you look at SB 32, which is currently wants to be amended, which is they're going to amend the EIR, that's going to impact how the greenhouse gas issue is looked at here in San Diego. They talk about 80% and all this other good stuff. They want to build in this region, San Diego region, 1 million to 2 million units. Now Dave Parvick, he disagrees with me. He can't support me. That's fine, I don't need his support. But when I go around the county and I look at all of the projects that are being planned, both in the city and the county, Riverwalk, they want to build 4,000, that's announced. The money coming out of Texas and New York. That's within a half mile of the transit station in Fashion Valley, they can go up to 8,000. Michael Prince will tell you he has no control when it goes to the city council. They can make the final decision. He can say no, he can make a plan, but it doesn't make it so. But they want to build San Diego. Now, I am against it, and I'm putting together a website, onevoicesandiego.com. And what we're going to do is go around the city and start taking video and showing within graphics what that's going to look like. And if they have any plans to change the traffic flow, expanding freeway, surface streets, what have you. But if they have their way, think about it. The National Transportation Department says that every household has 2 cars per household, 2. So if they're going to be 1 million, then that's 2 million cars are added.
Did you give him 4 minutes or 2? 4 minutes or 2? And it's not a done deal.
I want to make a couple of clarifying points, sort of reiterating what Tate said earlier. The City Council has the authority to make land use changes in the City of San Diego and here within the Claremont community. And that is the ultimate decision maker that we will be presenting whatever recommendation comes out of this process. That recommendation comes through a collaborative community effort in which we're standing up here tonight at the beginning to get this feedback. We did do a study previously. We have some data that we can use to help inform that process, but it's going to be led by the community and by this committee, as well as the Linda Vista community and their committee. With regards to what the City Council can and cannot do, they cannot change anything that wasn't analyzed through the environmental review process. So if we go forward with a proposal that maintains the 30-foot height limit, they cannot go forward and say, well, we want 60 feet. If it hasn't been studied and analyzed, and that's not something we're proposing. So they can't just go and change it on the council floor at their whim. It has to be studied, it has to be gone through an environmental review process and gone through a lengthy public outreach process. So I just wanted to make a couple of those clarifying points, and again, appreciate all your input.
Good evening, my name is David Dufek. I've lived in the Claremont area for 45 years. And I've lived down here in Bay Park for 18 years. And I love Bay Park. And I want to die here. I want to stay in my home. But before you get out the pitchforks and the tar and feather, I want to point something out to you. All of the improvements that you wish for up here, everything that you've said we need to improve our community costs money. And other than the sewer and water improvements, and the sidewalks that we need, that money's got to come from private sources. It's got to come from developers. Now, when I say everything has a cost, I'll give you an example. You were successful in eliminating the 60-foot height limit. That, you have no idea how much that is going to cost you when it comes time to put in the 1 million additional units that this county needs to support. How many of you here have grandchildren? Raise your hand. Where are they going to live? Where are your great-grandchildren going to live? In Temecula, okay? Or One Paseo. Now, before you jump me in the parking lot, I just want to point one thing out to you. We have an opportunity. But if you use this opportunity, if you squander this opportunity by being oppositional and confrontational, you are not going to have the opportunity to work with the developers that are going to come in here and inevitably change our community. And I would just encourage you to take a more conciliatory attitude and try and work with the people who are coming. They're going to come and they're going to make the changes. And they're the ones that are going to pay for the senior citizen park. They're the ones that are going to pay for the improvements down here on Maria. My time is up. Thank you.
Mike Hunsaker, I'm chairman of the Property Owners Defense League. I'm only going to address one issue here, and that is who's going to pay for someone else's free lunch. One of the big problems is mass transit. If you've got a well-run mass transit, you get about 25% of the cost through the fares. I come up, and I live up in North County. They had this Sprinter line, and that was supposed to drive automobile traffic down, so you had 20% of the people driving it. Well, it's about 0.02%. You cannot have successful river walks, you cannot have successful big community destination points without it being auto-centric, which happens to be lower greenhouse gas polluting than a mass transit diesel. Now the Sprinter, they figured that the fares cover about, depending on how you count it, 4 to 9% of the cost of operation. It cost me $5 as a senior to go back and forth from North County to here. Well, if it's costing me 10% or less, means every one of my trips is $50, and we're paying for that. And the developers, they love these high density. There's a bill now in the Senate, our state Senate, saying no parking limits minimum for apartments. In other words, if you have apartments, you don't have to build any parking. For a half a mile around each of those transit centers. So all we have to say here about mass transit and everything and the financing, we have to be a lot more clear on what it really costs and what's really going on. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Nina Kern. I'm over a 10-year resident of Bay Park. My children attended this school and we walked here every day. My, not suggestion, but discussion is about the sidewalks and the compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. You're already out of compliance on Morena Boulevard, so once redevelopment comes through, it's imperative that those mandates be followed.
Hello, my name's Skip. I've lived here for 63 years across the street from Bay Park. And from what I understand, they already did a study from the environmental with the trolley line and already determined that they could not afford to run it unless they had high density living all along the route of it. So from what, it's good that we won the first battle, but from what I understand, it's not going to be till 2018 when they actually come. That's when the real battle's going to begin. That's when they're really going to just say, we're going to do it. So just, it's good that everyone's here, but the real battle hasn't come yet.
Just a point of clarification, the analysis that was done as part of the environmental review for the trolley implementation assumed the adopted community plans that are in place today. So there is no increase in density over what was in the community plans as part of that effort. The justification for the trolley relied upon the existing community plans, not only for Claremont, but also for the University City and the other areas throughout the city. It does not rely upon increased density.
But they also said in it that it'll never pay for itself without high density living.
I'm not familiar with that finding. We could look at that and discuss it in a future meeting.
It's in there.
Hi.
My name is Rob Krula. I live in Claremont, been there for 5 years. I've met some of you virtually over next door the last couple of weeks. We've had some interesting back and forth, Harry. I'm actually surprised that the 60-foot thing is off the table. I think that's a very nice conciliatory gesture to the neighborhood. I'm a little bit flabbergasted that there's still so much angst to fight about 30 feet. This is a major transit investment in the entire region. I know there is a segment of you that is not small that would like to believe that San Diego will not grow and we don't need to provide a place for people to live. But there's going to be some growth. I don't know if it's as rosy as what Sandag says, but it's not going to be zero. Some people are going to be moving into the region, and right next to transit stops with an easy walk to it, that is not a sprinter line connecting nowhere to nowhere. This is connecting UCSD, the jobs in the UTC area, with the jobs downtown, with San Diego State. This will not be a line that has no one on it. And it's the best use of the investment, and it's the best for the region to add some density around these nodes. I don't think we should have 60 foot from Claremont to Tecologi. That would have been ridiculous. But it's okay to have density within easy walking proximity to the stations. Thank you.
Hi, Robert here. I've been with my parents in this area, Bay Park and so forth, since 1947. And that's a long time. And I'm first to admit that change is inevitable. It's the one thing we can count on. But one change that came into our lives, my parents' lives, is a freeway went in, our house went out. The beautiful canopy of eucalyptus trees down Marina Boulevard, which was 35 miles an hour, is gone. Now it's like, 70 miles an hour? I get scared going down Marina Boulevard. I live in Bay Park now, and it's been a wonderful community, but in the last couple of years, the businesses have increased, and my parking in front of my house has disappeared. The trash has increased. I've had my car stolen twice, my house broken into once, and I'm just concerned about density. When I'm in my first year of college, I took Psychology 101. We put an experiment on. We had a cage. One rat was okay. Two rats in the cage, they seemed to get along okay. But when we started stuffing 3 or 4 more rats in the same cage, they started fighting and killing each other.
My name's Tom. I live on Chicago Street, north of Claremont Drive. And question about the parking for the Claremont Drive stop. That entire area that is now kind of been demolished and flat with construction materials on it. How much of that is going to be parking and how much is going to be developed?
So Sandag has calculated that they need 150 spaces adjacent to the Claremont Drive trolley station as shown on the northern portion of the map here. Unfortunately, I don't have the site plan in front of me, but I don't have the exact square footage of what that will be. But it's probably, an acre to an acre and a half is my guess of, that's probably about, 3 acre of the 3 acre property. At this point, there's no development proposal identified or been submitted to the city of San Diego. There are no plans that the city has seen or reviewed through that process. So at this point, Sandag's plan is to work with the property owner to acquire the property for the use of creating a surface parking lot that serves the transit. The property owner is then free to pursue a future development at the time that they want to pursue it, but they will need to work with Sandag to ensure that there are 150 spaces that service the trolley station.
One other comment about the trolley. I know when I come down the hill early in the morning, there's always a lot of people waiting at the bus stop there. And that express line that comes down Claremont Drive gets you downtown in 10 minutes. I don't know anybody that's doing that now, which decide to drive the trolley, take the trolley instead.
Good evening. My name's Randy Clausen. My wife and I live up on Grandview. And grew up in Ocean Beach, Point Loma. I watched the overdevelopment of Ocean Beach and Point Loma back in the 60s. And don't want to see that happen here. And I propose that before any more development happens anywhere in San Diego County, that the developers put in for the infrastructure of a desalinization plant. You know, we're already on water restrictions, and we want to stick in more houses and more condos and everything. And who's going to pay for the water? Where's the water coming from? Why are we having to cut back so you can put more people in condos? You know?
All right.
Hey, my name is Daly Mon. I've been working in this area off of Buenos for 13 and a half years, and I bought my house here on Garcia Ave about a year and a half ago because I really liked the neighborhood. I get really nervous talking in front of people, so I actually made printouts for you guys with little diagrams of what I'd like to see. And I don't know if I can put this on the Razor Bloom, it's a Word document, so maybe I can just upload it in case you guys want to see it.
Yeah, send it over. We'll take care of you.
That means I have
My name is John Beard. I live Erie Street, just across Claremont Drive. And a lot of you talk about open space, senior access, walking, parks, open space. Well, we don't have a whole lot in this community. So my question to you guys is, what is going to be the green area ratio attributed to all this development? Is there a green area ratio in the plan? What is it?
The general plan recreation element has a requirement of 2.8 acres per 1,000 population for active park space for all new development within the community. So any new development will be required to provide that ratio of public open space as well as the municipal code requirement for open space within a development project, or they'll be required to pay the development impact fees for the facilities financing plan to identify and purchase lots for public open space. Mission Bay is not part of the Claremont community, so that calculation is not included as presently.
Would it include the park up the street
That's part of the existing active park space calculations, yes.
Get the list.
Hi, my name is Carol Peterson, and I've been living in Bay Park Village since 1977. I wanted to talk a little bit about Marina Boulevard. You know, we talk about high-speed planes and high-speed trains and high-speed everything, and yet we want to slow down Marina Boulevard? No way. You want to have another Claremont Drive, where the people on side streets are waiting and waiting and waiting for the light to turn down the hill so we can get out onto Marina Boulevard? It's crazy. Now, and as far as bicycles are concerned, they scare me to death. Because I never know where they're going to go, and they don't know where they're going either, apparently. And they don't ride in their lane, they ride right on the edge of their lane, so that if I want to pass them, the law, I think, says, I read somewhere, that if you have to be 3 feet from the bicyclist in order to pass them. Well, that would put me over into the lane of oncoming traffic. So, you know, having these bicycle lanes everywhere, it's insane. And for people who don't have a sidewalk, which we do not have in Bay Park Village, we made our own sidewalk. Our neighbors made their own sidewalk, and the neighbor down on the corner made their own sidewalk. So people can walk on our sidewalk. The land belongs to the city, and I don't think they're going to make us tear up our man-made sidewalks. But so if you want sidewalks, just get some pavers, put them in there, and there you go.
Hello, my name is Patricia Gage, and I've lived in the community for 35 years with my husband. He was here, but he had to leave. I lived on Erie Street and for 5 years, and then we moved up to the hill on Grandview. But I have to say that what this lady just said, when they put and I support bike people, all of that, for all the right reasons, but when they put that bike lane on Claremont, and I go up Claremont 4 times a day, at least, because I go to go to work and come home, and, so, and it's right, you can't get out on the side street, because, Grandview is right up there that comes out, so I have to deal with that daily. And I see a biker maybe once every 3-4 months using that bike lane. And like the lady said, if you don't get over, and everybody's jockeying down at the light, because they have to go into one lane now, and that's dangerous. And the parking, getting on the freeway backs up every morning, all the way up the hill. So it's a real concern. I mean, I want to support the bike people, but it's a difficult thing. And the one lady that said she wanted to have a walking bike and path over to Mission Bay, I wanted that for my kids, they're grown now, forever. But if you've ever gone to Mission Bay after 4th of July, it's a disgrace. You can't see grass because there's so much trash. And those people that come to Mission Bay Park don't live here. They're from a lot of other areas. They can't get to the beach. If you see in the summer on the weekends, it's horrendous. So as much as I want a safe, walkway, and it's needed with a bike to get over to Mission Bay so people could ride around that area, which is so much safer than here, then, I just hope that they can work that in.
Can I have a final 2 minutes?
I think you've used your time, sir.
I'm Jack Carpenter, and I've lived in the area since 1964. I'm one of those evil architect planners. And I have to tell you that I served on this committee for 23 years. In the 23 years, several developers tried to exceed the 30-foot height limit, and none of them passed. This group is your wall. That said, I think there's some misnomers that are going on here, and some of them I'll talk about later, but one of them that you need to understand is that the reason why there's a one lane up and down Claremont Drive that everybody complains about is because people died on it. There's some terrible accidents, and they figured that the only way they could stop that was to slow it down. So be a little bit understanding. It's not that they're trying to produce a bicycle lane, it's because it's unsafe.
But then it's not really for the bike.
It's not for the bike lane. The purpose was just to slow the traffic down.
When will you check? Don't jump on Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Do we anybody who hasn't spoken yet, because we are getting close to the end of the time and we do want to cover one more. Okay.
Yeah, let's hear from the board.
Does Sandag have eminent domain so they can come in and take over the city but cannot take the properties from the people, but can Sandag? In another meeting, you did say Sandag does have eminent domain over the properties.
Sandag does have the ability to utilize eminent domain authority for transportation facilities only. So they can only use it for transportation, for the use of the parking lot or for the use of putting the rail line through and the associated facilities with that, the power lines and so on and so forth. This is directly from John Haggerty, who's the director of rail and who's the primary, point of contact on this. So that is the source if you have questions related to that. They do not have eminent domain for anything outside of that purview. They can't do it for land use or to transfer it to a private property owner. All city development regulations associated with land use would need to be approved by city council and followed per our municipal code.
There was case law within the state of California recently that says that eminent domain is a mechanism that can be used even by private citizens to take other people's land. If they can show that the best use is better than the use that is currently being provided. And there is no such concept as possession of an eminent domain right to impose upon someone else's property. Eminent domain is a theory that can be used by anyone in California. Since the courts have ruled recently that eminent domain is a mechanism that can be used even by a private citizen to take your property. It was up in Ventura County, and it was a group of private citizens that enforced the eminent domain law to take a slice of someone's home in order to access the beach.
Yeah, we
So-
just, I just want to, so there's no eminent domain being proposed as part of this process. The city council has the authority on land use decisions, and they're not involved in any taking of properties. Sandbag is working with the property owner to acquire the property through a fair market transaction, if that is needed. But that is a negotiation between the Sandbag, the regional planning and transportation agency, and the property owner. The city of San Diego is responsible for evaluating land use and mobility improvements, and that's what we are going to do. So with that, I will turn it back over to Margie, and thank you for all your comments.
Thank you all for your attendance and all your wonderful comments. I really appreciate the input. Take that all into consideration as we move forward with this process, and welcome you to our future meetings as well. I know there was a question about when the next meeting is, and I have not set the date yet, partly because I'm not certain about the facility either. But the meetings are noticed in all the libraries, through several websites, including the city's website and the Claremont Community Planning Group website. Nextdoor.com. Yes, it was on Nextdoor.com as well, as through Bay Park Google groups. And so we are attempting to notify as much of the community as possible, and we cannot go door to door, sorry. Also, if you did have a comment that you didn't feel comfortable saying, or you think of something later, I do have an email that you can email information to.